Welcome to this update. I was asked if I could do an update of my surgery, like actual surgery update from my last surgical update. Because I've had the gender affirming surgery, the labiaplasty and vaginoplasty back in it was August 30th of 2021, and revision was December 13th of 2022, and I was asked to do an update for how far out I've been. And I'm doing this update because, not just because I was asked. That's what drives me to do this update. It's because I do not hear other trans women or trans men doing any updates so far out from their initial surgeries and revisions on everything. So this is going to cover two topics: the physical structure of it and the sexual function of it. Let's start out with, as if you read the disclaimer at the beginning, it will show a few, like, it's going to show an image of my dilator with stuff on it. So the physical structure of everything. I have gained weight recently. The last year, I've been on a journey of really struggling with my weight, but I finally have got it to gain weight, healthy weight, to where I'm happy and comfortable with my body, which gaining weight has changed down there. My outer labia, the labia majora, has filled in because they took the fat here when they did the revision to put down in there to fill it in because it was pretty much almost non-existent. And this kind of fat that's through here is the fat that when you gain and lose weight, it gains and loses there first. So it has filled in my outer labia, gaining the weight, which looks really good. And my labia minora, the inner, how I have a significant, even though, because they did the fat transfer and the tissue they use to lift that up, when you do both at the same time to lift up the inner labia and the fat transfer to fill in the outer labia, it triggers both labias to not be separated. So physically it's not separated as I would like, but I'm still happy with it. And with where everything's at, they don't want to do another surgery because it could complicate things. So I still have significant clitoral hood, and with my clitoris, it's not like around bulbous. It's more, the best way I can describe it is the front of it is more flat on me with the way they did the surgery. The right side of my labia minora, the inner, is longer than the left side because the left side stops at the vaginal entrance and ends there. The right side goes all the way down to the perineum. So, yeah. So there's asymmetry there, and everything looks good. It's like when I stand up, it looks good. In different positions, it looks good. And my depth, I haven't lost depth. I'm at the 5th dot on the dilator. And when I last actually measured on a dilator, that's 5.5 inches on the orange dilator. But because the way my body is, the actual circumference of my canal, the maximum, I know I can fit in there at the entrance it was 6.25 inch, I think it was, in circumference. I can't go any further than that because that's the maximum it can stretch out to. I know this because of a specific toy, and I actually measured that toy just to see, because that was the maximum I was able to, and it can never get any bigger than that circumference. So, yeah. That's the physical, and going into the sexual part, the actual functioning part, well, of it. The whole area becomes, well, depending on hormone cycle and how that affects it. With the hormone cycle, it changes the sensitivity, how much more or less, and it becomes more swollen, like the actual labia, both inner and outer. For me, it becomes more swollen. That's part of the functionality of my hormone cycle. And there's a nerve on the right side, goes from the inner part of the canal, like the deepest part, goes all the way up the right side and up the right side of my labias, up to where my clitoris is. And when I'm swollen, it really aggravates that nerve badly to where it becomes uncomfortable, where it's kind of like a stingy or burny or just a painful feeling. So my right side of my vaginal canal has always been really sensitive since the surgery, and the feeling had fully come in more than the left side. And the upper part of my canal is really sensitive towards the G-spot area. And especially in the deepest spot, as close as possible to the A spot as possible. That's another sensitive area. So, like, sexual wise, I do get aroused. It does swell. I do have sensitivity to where I can have multiple orgasms. And part of my functionality, I'm also able to squirt, actual, like, not coming, but actual squirting that liquid fluid that is different than cum, and I'm able to come as well. Sexually, and both I'm able to achieve with or without orgasming. And when I do orgasm, I can have multiple different types, like a clitoral, a vaginal, like multiple different types of internal and external. So, yeah. The non-sexual function, the fluids it produces, it's not enough for like full on like sex with something bigger. But if it's something smaller, I'm able to go like use something smaller without lubricants. But depending on the size, I have to use a lubricant to supplement. It's like when I dilate or a toy or the real thing requires lubricant, but if it's a really small toy, I mean, one that's not very big, I'm able to use the smaller stuff toy wise without, especially like glass toys. But like the non sexual function, since having that bacterial vaginosis and getting cleared from that, I have natural bacteria in there that changes with my hormone cycle every single month. It's like if you look at the image, I don't have the other image, but this is the best I can show. Like medical wise, I can show. It's that bacteria. It's either a small amount or a huge amount that comes out. It usually comes out on my dilator and flushes out of my vagina and gets onto my underwear. And I do have at times clear liquid, like fluids, that does happen as well, but no other real like discharges from my vagina happen. It's mostly the clear liquids, like fluids, and that bacteria. And since having that bacteria in there that's gotten into a healthy state, I haven't had to flush it out. Like a douche is what they recommend you use. It was last year was the last time I've done it because I was having a buildup of dead skin that wasn't flushing out. But when I got bacteria vaginosis and that bacteria got in there and started being normal again after the treatments, I haven't flushed it out since. That incident happened, but it was before then is when I flushed it out last. So that's actually self-cleaning the way everything is right now. And a lot of people say that can't happen. It's not true. It's not a real vagina. It doesn't actually function because it's penile skin lining it and a whole bunch of other things. The version of surgery I had, they used the scrotal tissue to line it, and it has become self-cleaning and functional to a point. That's why I say to a point. So yeah, and it's coming to mind part of the way they did the surgery, the revision, specifically the revision, where some of the stitches were. I have skin tags and some bumpy areas. They were saying there's scalloped edges from how they had to sew everything, and that's normal. And 2 spots next to the urethra. It looks like Skene's glands. Then where my vaginal entrance is, a little partial ways in, it looks like I have Bartholin glands, or how we pronounce that. Yeah, it looks like it, even though they're not technically, but the way they did the surgery, it looks like it. So when you actually look physically at everything, it just looks like a cis woman, almost like identical to a cis woman who has the same kind of structure like mine does. with the urethra more closer to the clitoris instead of tucked into the vaginal canal. And I'm glad that my urethra is not tucked in and have that little bit extra length and that erectile tissue, because that erectile tissue has become functional around the urethra. So when like sexually aroused, that swells, or when I sit and pee, it pushes out normal. I was told that happens with some people, but yeah. And when using a toy or anything, when that erectile tissue is swelled and pressed against with an object sexually, all that blood flow gets pushed to the clitoris on my body and makes that even more swollen than what it does get with my clitoris. It doesn't get as swollen as it did when it was like first healing, but it's still enough to be sexually enjoyable. So that's really what's been going on with all that down there. It looks good, it feels normal, and when I just basically, just in my day-to-day life, since having that surgery and being healed out this far, it's like I don't even think about it. Before the surgery, I was like, it was a constant on my mind reminder almost every day, 24/7, 365 days a year, until I got the revision and everything healed it and became the way it is. And now it's just like, not even an afterthought. It's not even a daily thought. It's just put on my clothing and get on with my day. I go use the bathroom, wipe clean, get on with my day. So it's the physical and sexual aspects are great. Then the mental aspects, it's just like no dysphoria, no thoughts about it all the time, unless I check it out when I dilate and something's going on, or I feel something down there that doesn't feel right, or just hormonal changes throughout the month. Those are the only times I really think about it or notice it. Or when I'm extremely horny, when hormone fluctuations and all that, and I feel it a little more swollen during that time, then I notice it more and think about it because it's on my mind because I can feel it. And yeah, that's like the major points of when I do think about it in my day-to-day life. And the only other part, just in general with day-to-day life, I have, because of my, I have to be more conscious about clothing choices, because having significant labia minora compared to my labia majora, how I have significant, which during the reveal of my surgery, they said I have significant, and that's a good thing because it doesn't happen very often. It's like when you do these surgeries, having significant inner labia doesn't happen very often. I'm really thankful for that, because the way I wanted the surgery, I wanted my urethra not tucked into the vaginal canal and a little more inner labia compared to outer. And I wanted them both, the inner labia to be symmetrical, but because it's like I was going back and forth, like, do I want it symmetrical in both? It's like all the way down to the perineum or stop at the vaginal canal. I got one of each, so I'm happy with that, even though they tried fixing that with the revision, because the asymmetry, the right side, they tried reducing that extra from the vaginal, the upper part here, the vaginal canal down to the perineum. They tried reducing that, but because the way my body decided to heal from the revision, it went back to that length. And how I feel about when you heal from this kind of a surgery, however your body ends up doing it, when you're on the hormones and healing, whatever happens, and that's how it's supposed to look, unless something major happens. But if it's all healing normally and everything, that the look of it, because when they asked the three things, in what order do I want it? It was the look, function, and the depth of my canal. The topped two was the look and function, like the function and look. Because if it didn't look right, I knew it was going to cause dysphoria. If it never functioned, it'll cause severe dysphoria. The depth was the third. And with having a normal depth, I'm happy with everything. And this far out from the surgery, I don't regret it. And even though I'm kind of rambling a little bit off the topic of the clothing, I don't regret it. I'm happy that I had it, and I'm happy I had revision. It feels like my body, my own body. It doesn't feel off. It doesn't feel weird. Like when I pee now compared to before surgery, my body gives me signals in certain spots. And it would cause dysphoria because it wasn't physically structured for those spots. Where it's at now, the feeling and structure match of it. So, yeah. And as I was saying, the clothing, I have to be careful with the types of clothing I wear because of how big the inner labia is. Because certain clothing, if it's too tight against it, I can say it does give that camel toe look, and it does show more if the clothing doesn't fit right in that area. If it's like too tight, it causes issues. It's like, especially with pants, if it's too tight in that area, I feel it rubbing against everything. Or it can end up creating camel toe. So, yeah, I have to be careful on clothing choices because of that. But other than that, that's how it's sexually and non-sexually functioning. That's how it looks. Where the mons pubis is, that fat area is filled in, but because this, like the skin in that area on my body didn't stay tacked down, it's not as noticeable of that shape that goes around the upper part of the clitoral area through the labia where that mons pubis fat area connects to the labia. And the clitoral hood, because it's not tacked down, you can't see the separation as much. But when you actually, if I get in certain positions or feel, you can notice it a little bit more, that it's actually there. So that's the other part of the structure. And where the mons pubis and the labia begin, since gaining actual physical healthy weight, it's more filled in that spot than what it used to be. And that's where I struggled before my revision, is not having that filled in. And gaining weight has really helped with that. So that's my update from my revision, my initial surgery and revision back in December of 2022. That revision, and my initial surgery from August 30th, 2021 up to now. So that's everything about it. So, yeah. If you have any more questions about it or wanted to know more, I'm willing to ask questions. And if I get enough questions to do a Q&A video about it, I will do so. So until then, that's my major update with it. So yeah, the best I can with my experience with it up to now.